Gentlemen, welcome to the Front Row Dads podcast. I'm your host, John Vroman, and today we're going to talk about strengthening your marriage. Before I get into all that, though, I just wanted to take a moment and celebrate with you the fact that we have 30 guys that just said yes to joining the Front Row Dads Brotherhood. And many of you who've been following along on the podcast or are part of the Facebook group will know that the last 2 weeks of June, we opened up enrollment. And so 30 men said yes, they wanted to invest the time, energy, resources to learn the strategies and the skills needed to succeed at home at the highest level. And so I'm very excited about that. Our next enrollment will open up in November. If you want to be notified about that, just make sure that you're part of our Facebook community or you're listening to this show or perhaps even getting our weekly insights. All the information's at frontrowdads.com. Just click the Brotherhood tab at the top of the page and you'll see it all there. All right, guys, let's get into our show today. This is a solo show where today I want to take you on a journey. I want to actually take you along on what I experienced 5 days of a couples trip. It's called Go Couples, hosted by a couple of my very good friends, Mike McCarthy, John Berghoff, David Osborne. These guys are all part of a group called Go Abundance, a men's mastermind. They travel the world together and hold each other to these high standards. And their tagline is grab life big. And they do. These guys are epic. And they're all front row dads as well. So they're part of our community. And they hosted this Go Couples trip. And it was an awesome blend of both, Tatiana and I had time alone. We had time with the rest of the group. We were in sessions with people like Dr. Kelly Flanagan, who wrote the book Lovable, and Alana Pratt, who's an intimacy expert. And then we're doing fun things. We're going to go see a circus show, and we're going to go whitewater rafting, and we're going to do all this cool stuff, and it's pretty awesome. So I want to tell you, very high level, I'm just going to move fast here, what happened over these 5 days. Some of the biggest ideas. So I'm going to move fast here. I'm going to talk fast. I'm just going to tell you what happened. And my hope is that whenever I share like this, that one idea can make a difference for you. And it could be something new. It could be like, I never heard that. But it could also be something true. You're like, I heard that, but I'm not doing that. And there's a very big difference of intellectually getting it and then also practicing it or, perfecting it, if you will, or mastering some skill. So we always can learn something new, or we can always remember something true and get better and better and better at it. Guys, I want to tell you, all right, let's go day one. I'm going to first of all tell you about an epic failure. So Tatiana and I got into a fight in the morning, and I just could not get myself out of this funk, man. I tried, but I was failing at every turn to get myself out of this headspace that I was in. And it was an epic day. Buddy of mine's flying my family on a private jet, and we're at my buddy's house in downtown, Colorado, downtown Denver, sorry. And, we're going to go see a show at the Red Rocks. It's been on my bucket list to go see a show at the Red Rocks. I could not get myself out of this funk. And I got to tell you, the next day when we showed up to this event, we're sitting around in a circle. I just raised my hand and I said, guys, I just want to apologize to the group for the way I showed up yesterday. But I also want to give props to my wife for how she was just so loving and sweet and patient with me. I really wanted to recognize her. And I want to tell you guys, I'm excited about this adventure ahead. And I just wanted to own that with the group, right? I wanted to really own and apologize my negativity the day before. At least that's how I would perceive it. And somebody walked up to me at the break and they said, John, I'm so grateful that you did that. I think you really set the tone for the day today with your vulnerability and your honesty. And so thank you for that. And, I remembered in that moment that, look, it's not all going to go well, right? It's not all going to go well. And that sometimes we even judge ourselves more harshly because it's like, I shouldn't be negative. I should be so positive with all these positive things happening. And then we start to beat ourselves up for being negative when we should be positive. And it's just it's a vicious cycle downwards, that when you start doing that. But I was just reminded that, look, a lot of times in marriages or in any relationship, you're going to have really tough days. But if you own it, if you apologize, you can heal and move on from a lot. Not always. I understand there's things that feel like you just can't come back from them. But a lot of times you can. And a lot of times you can just let it go. And it's not about fixing it once and for all. It's having a philosophy and a strategy so that when you do get into a funk, when you do make a mistake, when you are not operating at your best, that you can apologize and move on from it, because you're going to have to do it many other times in life. And oftentimes that's the best skill to teach our kids. If our kids see us as just being perfect all the time, when their lives aren't perfect, they don't know what to do. But if we can be real and open and raw and vulnerable with our kids, with our friends, with our spouses, then we can move forward in amazing ways. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about the rest of the trip. All right, so I'm on day 2 right now. Big apology. So we had a great day. We hiked. Tatiana and I went on a hike with just the two of us, and it was the best thing to do. Just get out and to sweat and to breathe fresh air. And we just laughed together. We took some pictures together, and it was a very healing day. I want to tell you about the biggest part of that day, though, was our solo date that we did that night. So all the couples went out, and it was just two people at dinner having an amazing conversation. And here was the structure. I want to tell you what the structure was. So question number 1, we were instructed to ask each other, so I would say to Tatiana, I would say, tell me something that you like about me. And then Tatiana would talk, and all I could say at the end was thank you. No rebuttal, no commentary, just thank you. Very powerful. Question 2, or it's kind of a statement, but it said, tell me something that you think that we align on. And then Tatiana would tell me whatever she thinks that we align on, and I would say, thank you. And then the third question, or the third topic for conversation was, tell me something that you want me to understand that you think I may not understand. Tell me something that you want me to understand that you think I may not understand. And that is a very powerful question. In fact, you could end the podcast right now. You could stop watching this video right now, and you could just do these 3 questions on your next date and say, you just say, hey, babe, I was listening to this podcast. John Vroman was talking about how he went on this couples trip, and he got these 3 topics for conversation, and he talked about how powerful they were. And I just thought it would be cool for us to experiment with it. What do you think? And you just, hey, the rule is, I say, one spouse says to the other, tell me something that you like about me. And then you just shut up. You don't say anything, right? You just listen. And then when the person's done speaking, you say, thank you so much. And then you say the next statement, right? Tell me something that you think we align on. And then the third one, tell me something that you want me to understand or that you think I may not understand. I got to tell you guys, these questions were all very, very powerful. And there were some really funny moments along the way. Like I said to Tatiana, I said, tell me something that you like about me. And Tatiana said, I like everything about you. She goes, I really like everything about you. In fact, the only thing I don't like about you is, and then she went on for like 3 or 4 minutes telling me what she doesn't like about me. And I said, babe, you do realize that the statement was, tell me something you like about me. And you just spent 3 minutes telling me about the only thing that you don't like about me. And she started laughing and I started laughing. And she goes, okay. And then she went on to for the next half hour to make up for it. She told me all the things that she liked about me, which is really cool. And then the second one, I said, tell me something that you think we align on. And she starts talking about this, and she's like, well, we align on, our spiritual beliefs. We align on education for our kids. We align on health and how we view, food and nourishment. We align on where to live, what city to live in. We align on most music we align on. We align on a lot of friends. And she just went on and on and on. And we both had this real big epiphany in that moment where she said, oh my God. She goes, we align on just about everything. And she started laughing. She goes, but the only things we don't really align on are you like key lime pie and I like cheesecake, right? You would rather sleep at 69 degrees and I would rather sleep at 78 degrees. And we were laughing about some of the things that we don't align on, but she literally had this epiphany where she'd never really thought about all the things that we actually align on. And it is kind of amazing when you think about all the beliefs you could have in life, and yet all the ones that might line up with your spouse. That was her epiphany in that moment, and that was mine too. And then the third one, this idea of tell me something you want me to know you want me to understand that I might not understand. We both got very emotional during that part. In fact, she was telling me about when she was growing up in Russia. She grew up in Siberia, a little town called Krasnoyarsk, and that she really, really had a tough situation as a kid. In her 1-bedroom apartment, her grandmother lived in the bedroom, her mother lived in the living room, and she lived in the kitchen. And she was just telling me about, she said, John, I don't know if you understand my upbringing very well. And I've always listened to it, right? I know about her upbringing. We've talked about it a lot. But what I realized was that she still doesn't know if I fully get it. So she was just explaining with tears in her eyes that she said, I don't know if you fully understand what my life was like growing up and why maybe some of the things I do today, I do because of, my childhood, that I still have this wounded child inside me, which is a whole other part of the event that, still plays a big role in my personality and why I behave the way I do at times because of the first 18 years of my life. And I realized in that moment that I might intellectually understand her life as a kid, but that one of her greatest concerns or her pain points is that I might not fully emotionally understand what she's been through. And so I don't know if I have an immediate answer to how I can learn more or connect more to her childhood, other than maybe some of the obvious ones like ask more questions, John, and listen more and really try to understand. And I've actually been to her hometown. We got married in her hometown, and I've been back to her hometown. But that, it now has become a mission for me to sit with, maybe meditate on the idea of how can I really show her that I understand her childhood. That of all the things that she could have said here, the one thing she said was that she's not quite sure that I understand her life 0 to 18. And now it's become a mission of mine to get creative in how can I learn about that, and also so that she knows that I know, or that I'm interested, or that I emotionally get it. And I don't know the answer, but it'll be exciting to figure it out. But those 3 questions, guys, I would strongly encourage you to take those 3 questions or statements. I'm not sure it's really a question, but it's tell me something you like about me, tell me something you think we align on, and tell me something that you want me to understand that you think I may not understand now. 3 very powerful questions. I want to give credit to Dr. Kelly Flanagan and to Alana Pratt for creating those questions that were in our manual, in our workbook that we had for the week, and they were profound. And I know many people had incredible breakthroughs with that. So anyway, that was day 2. I'm going to move a little quicker here, so I'm not going to spend that much time on each day. But day 3 was amazing. We hiked. And here's what was really cool. By the way, here's a big takeaway. When we get one-to-one time with our spouse, when we have a space, a container, something very special about a retreat like that, because it creates a special atmosphere to be able to connect. Like if I would have said to Tatiana, hey, we need to work on our marriage, she might not have been in the space for that in that moment. If she would have said to me, let's work on our marriage, I might not have been in the space. But when we're at a retreat and somebody else, a third party, is saying, this is what we're going to do, then it's like neither one of us are the trigger, right? We're just following the instructions of what somebody else is telling us to do. We're following their schedule. And having that container, that space, that environment to learn in was so very powerful. So I just had to say that quickly, but here's the cool thing. Day 2, when we're doing these 3 questions that I just mentioned, I told Tatiana that I was like, I don't know if you fully understand how much I love physical touch. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm talking about like, her rubbing the back of my neck or holding my hand or any type of physical touch. And I could trace this all the way back to being a kid sitting on the couch and having my mom kind of rub my back. I always say, we called it in the Vroman house, it was always like we got back tickles, right? Like sitting on the couch, watching TV. Whenever we'd go to bed, it was like part of our culture of our house. And it was, I think it's just one of the ways that I felt loved, right? And that deep down inside, my programming says I am loved when somebody is like tickling the back of my neck or my arm or whatever. Like, I love it. And I said, I don't know if you fully understand just how much I love that, Tatiana, right? So here's what's cool. The next day we went on a big hike. We get to the top of the mountain and Tatiana says, hey, sit down in that chair. And she sits in front of me, puts both my feet in her lap, and she takes off my shoes and she starts rubbing my feet. Now this is sounds disgusting because we had just hiked up this mountain. That's true love, boys. That's true love. But she takes off my shoes and she starts rubbing my feet, and I feel like I'm in heaven. It was awesome. And here's the thing. What was great about that, look, the foot rub was great. But what was really cool is that when we create space to talk, when we express our values in a way, in a kind way, in a loving way, in a way that doesn't trigger our partner, we can make progress. We can really connect. And I was just blown away that she did that because she really heard me. She really listened, and then she took action, and it was really cool. So I really loved that. And that was a big victory. So what is that a testament to? Well, it's a testament to my wife, and she was really great in that moment. It's also a testament to this type of retreat, this type of conversation, these types of dialogues that are leading to breakthroughs in our relationship. Anyway, had a great hike, went to a great session in the afternoon with Alana and Dr. Kelly again. And then, I should mention, and then we had great sex. My wife, when she's away and she's away from the kids, and I don't know if I told you this, but like a week or two ago, she went on a retreat it was like a camping trip, and it was a festival, music festival. And she was listening to something called Psy Trance, Psy Trance. So Psy Trance. You just plug it into Spotify, you'll get it. But anyway, so she's been really into this music, and it's been opening her up. Like when I say opening her up, I'm talking like lighting up her feminine energy, her spirit. She's dancing around. She's listening to this music. Anyway, she turns on this psytrance music, and she's dancing for me in the room. This is really what happened, right? She's dancing for me in the room, and I'm just smiling. And then we have great sex, great sex. And I'm thinking, look, we've had an amazing sex life this last year. And I think we both have worked on it. We both put time and energy into our sex life. And as a result of that, it's gotten a lot better. But one of the things I think is so, I was making note of the fact that this was so good because of the environment we were in, because of the safety that had been created, because of the connection that we had, because she went away for 4 days and totally charged and, was excited and vibrant and full of life. And it just spills over into so many different areas of life. So, it's a testament to her getting time. It's a testament to us getting away and getting time. Anyway, we had a great sex. I don't need to talk about that anymore. And then we had a group dinner that night. Day 3 was amazing. Day 4, we had one-to-one sessions with Dr. Kelly and Alana in the morning, so people could sign up for these one-to-one sessions. And one of the things that we had a breakthrough in our one-to-one session with Dr. Kelly was that we were learning that I thought we had a communication issue. Like Tatiana and I would say, our biggest problem is communication. And what we realized was it really wasn't a communication issue. And Dr. Kelly brought this to our attention. He says, I don't know if you guys have as much of a communication issue as you might think you do. I think what's happening is that you're just different. You're just two different people here with two different values. So Tatiana is like this free spirit floating around. She doesn't like rigid schedules, right? It's to her, it's the deepest pain is when somebody's trying to control her. When she was in school in the Soviet Union, and she had a really bad experience with some of her teachers and some of her mentors, and she was put in the back of the class and told she was dumb, and all these things in her life that are extremely painful, extremely scarring, and all this authority was very painful in her life, and it's why she doesn't like authority in general. And we could talk about schedules or people telling her what to do, when to do it. She does not like any of that. I, on the other hand, have learned to love structure. In my heart, I love freedom as well. It's just I believe in what Jocko Willink talks about, discipline sets you free. I believe that systems set you free. I believe that because of my habits and my routines and my rituals, I've been able to excel in certain parts of my life. And, I feel that if I'm highly ritualized and, that the system is flowing together, sometimes that butts up against Tatiana's free spirit, which is actually what I love about her the most. But in this session with Dr. Kelly, he was just explaining to us that he's like, I don't know if it's as much of a communication issue as it is that you're just dealing with different value systems when it comes to those two things. Now, you align on a lot, but on these two issues, you're you're quite different. Now, so what's the solution there, right? Like, well, what do you do with that? Sometimes the answer is nothing. You just need to know what it is that's causing the friction. And sometimes when you just know, hey, that's what's causing the friction, you're like, okay, I can just accept that, right? In other words, there's nothing to be fixed. I'm not going to fix her. She's not going to fix me. We just go, hey, oh yeah, that's all that it is. We're just different people in those areas, and that's okay. And we don't have to butt up against that and fight about it. We can just accept that piece about each other and to try to understand why we are the way we are a little bit. Sometimes a little compassion of like, why is John so structured and why is Tatiana such a free spirit? When you start to really understand that, you stop being so critical and judgmental of how that person is behaving. Anyway, we had a great session with Dr. Kelly that day. It was really powerful. We had a final group session. We went to the circus that night, and then it ended with everybody dancing in the lawn at like 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. We're all dancing. There's a little speaker out there, and we're just having a blast. And I don't really love dancing, but I love watching my wife dance. And so I had a blast watching her and doing my best dance moves, which I got like 2, and I just repeat those. But I will tell you that it was a great ending to the day. And here was a couple of my big takeaways from the whole event, from all the group conversations and all that. I went back through my notes, and here's what I'll share with you, and then I'll wrap. So just a couple minutes here, and I'll give you these rapid fire. Number one is Dr. Kelly was talking about, he was using the example of kids getting awards, soccer team that he is actually a coach of, and he would, he understands the concept of giving awards to people. But what he wanted to evolve that to was giving something that he calls awards. So a word, right? Like instead of giving a kid a trophy, he's like, why don't we give them a word that best describes that kid? So he talked about how when he does this, he'll go around, he and his buddies sit down and they think about a word that describes each of the kids on the team. And then they'll articulate, they'll try to speak out loud at a ceremony at the end of the year about that kid, what that word represents to them, and why they think that kid is so special. And they said the kids get so quiet and they hang, on every word, right? Listening can't wait for the coaches to speak about them. And like, what's your word going to be? What's your word going to be? And so then what we did is we were able to do the same thing for our spouses. We were able to think of a word that would kind of embody the best of our spouse over the last year. Like, what did we see in our spouse over the last year? And the word I picked for Tatiana was open. And I just described that over the last year, she's been really open-minded and really expansive in her thinking and her spiritual journey, right? And in her exploration in lots of different areas of life. She's been very, very open-minded, and I really respect that and honor that and love that, and it's been very invigorating for our family. So when you think about an award for somebody versus a word for somebody, and in fact, as I say that, Tiger, my 10-year-old, just celebrated his 10th birthday, and one of the things that you've probably heard me talk about on the show is I've asked Grandma and Grandpa and his aunt to write words of affirmation, a letter to Tiger. What he doesn't need is a bunch more presents. They're wonderful. Some people's love language is gifts, right? No, there's nothing wrong with a present. But what people really love and what really changes people's lives are words, right? Spoken and written words. And so when we get a chance to just speak out loud to somebody what we love about them, what's great about them, what we admire about them, what we feel are their strengths, how they show up in the world, those are some of the greatest gifts that we give. And we had this session. So what can you take away from that? Well, I would think it would just be, think about that one concept. Like, could you, first of all, do that for your kids? Could you do that for your spouse? Could you think about a word that best describes them? My friends will tell you that whenever we're at a dinner party and it's in honor of somebody, like let's say somebody's birthday, I will stop the table and ask everybody to go around and say something they love about that person. And some people roll their eyes and are like, and some people love it. And honestly, I don't really give a shit what anybody thinks. Like, I'm going to do it because I think it's really important for that person. I know that person lights up when others are talking about them in a positive light, even if they're a little bashful about it or a little shy. But I know that that's really important. So that was a big takeaway for me. Another one was understanding ego. And, Dr. Kelly gave a great explanation of ego and how ego can really play such a big role in our relationships. And by the way, we spent 3 hours on this subject, so I can't even begin to get into this in great detail. But what I will try to do is have Dr. Kelly on the show again. And if you are in the Brotherhood, he comes on, once or twice a year to run a training for us, and we'll talk about ego more there, with Dr. Kelly. But one of the things he says is that your ego is it's really the self that you've built. It's the version of yourself that was designed and created to protect your true self, the self that you're born with. So your ego is it's almost like designer clothes, where you're born your true self. You don't give a shit about designer clothes. You're just happy and free, and right, like you'll run around naked, right? It doesn't matter. But then at some point along the way, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, whatever point in your life, somebody tells you that you shouldn't be naked, that you won't be accepted if you're naked, and that it's bad, and that if you want to fit in and be loved, that you should wear these clothes. And so you start to do that. And then you start to be like, well, if you wear these clothes with these brands, you'll even be cooler. And somebody tells you along the way that, by wearing that type of clothing, like that makes you cooler. So you start to design a self, a version of yourself, a personality that is designed to both protect your true self and to get more of kind of what you think you want and need, because your true self you might feel is not enough. So you've got to create a version of yourself. And so that's the ego, right? And that's how he decides. So it's a second self designed to protect a true self. And what we spent a lot of time on at this event is how we have built our egos in our lives to protect ourselves, that it started at a very young age, and that as a child we have these wounds and we had this shaming, and we started to build up these walls. Dr. Kelly has this a great example, and you should go back and listen to his podcast episode that we did on the Front Row Dads show, where it was actually, we were debriefing our retreat that we had in the Florida Keys, where Dr. Kelly was our guest, and we were talking about how he's got this great metaphor where you're 5, 6 years old, 7 years old or so, and you start to build these walls in your life, like castle walls, to protect yourself. So somebody shames you for the first time, and you're like, oh, I need to build a wall to protect myself against this shaming, right? Or against these people in my life that might be trying to hurt me. So we start to build these walls. And then he talks about how we put these cannons on those walls, usually junior high-ish. We realize that the best defense is a good offense. If I hurt you before you hurt me, I can win. I can protect myself. So we don't just try to defend ourselves. We actually learn how to go on the offense. And sometimes we do that with our witty comments, right? If you try to burn somebody, right, or whatever it might be, that's an offensive move, so that you can protect yourself, so that you can look cooler or be accepted or be loved. And then what you do is he says, first you build your walls, then you have your cannons, and then you find the throne. And that usually happens later in life, where you find that you're really good at something, and it's like the throne of righteousness. And so you're good at work, you're good at a sport, you're good at whatever, and you get to sit on that throne and be right. Right? And you can make other people wrong, and you get to be right. And you sort of develop, that's all part of the ego, right? Is this throne that we sit on in our lives, where we can, say that we're right and they're wrong. And then we have this drawbridge, which is the fourth and final part. And that is the part where eventually we realize that, hey, we've built these castle walls and these cannons, and we've got this throne, but we also can choose at times in our lives to lower the drawbridge and walk out and be more vulnerable with people, right? Get away from our walls and get away from our cannons. And, that it's kind of a choice of when we open up and get real and raw with people by lowering the drawbridge. Anyway, I'm not doing this nearly the amount of justice that it deserves, because it's a wonderful metaphor, and you should definitely hear him talk about this. Dr. Kelly also, by the way, is a guest blogger for frontrowdads.com, so you'll be hearing more and more from him. In fact, on one of the upcoming episodes, where Dr. Kelly and I are going to be reading a post that he wrote that we're going to be sharing, so I think you guys are going to really dig that. But this ego concept is really important to explore, because a lot of your breakthroughs in your marriage are not going to be based on what your partner does. Like, oh, if I could just get my partner to do this, this, and this, our relationship would be great. Or if my partner would just understand this about me, then our relationship would be great. A lot of what creates a breakthrough in a marriage is your own work on you, on yourself. And in fact, there are times when you'll go, I know, but it's really not me, right? Like, I've really thought about this and I'm really trying to be honest, and it's really my partner that's the problem. And look, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that that can be really dangerous territory, to be in that place where you think there's nothing to do with you and it's all them, right? It can be very dangerous. And why is because it takes away your power, right? When you make it about somebody else, it takes away the power. Try to keep it on you. What can you do, right? How can you evolve? How can you change? How can you grow? Try to always make it back to you and what you can do in any situation. And part of that is understanding your ego. All right, a couple last quick ones. I know I went long here. You guys aren't shocked if you've been listening to the show for a long time. I got a lot to say. I want to help you guys out as much as I can. So, but I need to get to the pool. My kids are waiting there. I'm excited to go hang with them. But let me give you a couple other quick things. One is that I heard Dr. Kelly quote this. He shared a quote, which I can't remember who to attribute this to. So if you know, let me know. But he said, when in a relationship, you can be in a mode of cure or care. And what he means is when you are in a mode of cure, it's treating people like there's something wrong with them and you need to fix them, right? Or a situation that there's a cure in that situation that's needed. Versus care is a situation of like, I just love you. I care for you. Cure versus care. When we're talking to people, when we're talking with our spouses, when we're talking with our kids, I think it's important to keep these two words in mind. Cure is like, I need to fix you. Care is I just need to love you. And I can tell you that to me, that's deeply personal. And I didn't need to hear a lot of explanation around that to fully get it. That at times in my relationship with my wife that I've been trying to cure her of something, right? Let's say I've shared with you guys really openly, she's really messy and I'm really clean, right? And so I approach that situation sometimes is that her being messy means there's something wrong with her. And like a cure would be like, I need to fix this situation, versus a caring for her would be loving her no matter what, and recognizing that in my mind, cleanliness, or not cleanliness, but organization might be the right thing for me, but that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not she's a good person on planet Earth or a great mom or any of those things. That she could be messy as shit and still be an amazing human. And I need to remember that it's a difference of cure versus care for me and how I show up for people in my life. The next one is calling someone out or calling someone up. Calling someone out or calling someone up. So you can call out a situation, you can call up a person. And so the way that shows up for me, I'll give you an example, whether we're talking kids or relationship, is like calling out is like, you really screwed that up. But calling up the best version of somebody is like, I know who you are. I know what we are. I know what we're capable of. And I'd love to see that emerge, right? I'd love to see more of that. That's like a calling up of brilliance, calling up of what's good and what's strong within somebody or something, versus calling out something. An outing of something is more pointing it out, or calling it up is like calling it up digs for something better, and it asks for something better, and it assumes something better. So just ask yourself in your life, like, are you in the situation of calling something out or calling something up, right? Pointing something out or pulling something up, perhaps. That to me was a big idea. And the last thing that I'll share is this idea of healing our own inner child. That through this exploration of these 5 days, that I recognize that a lot of the pain that we experience in a relationship is like two little kids vying for love and attention inside of an adult body, and that there's still a lot of childhood wounds and trauma and stories and beliefs, things that we, had anchored in at a very, very young age that are still showing up. It's like, who's running the show? Yeah, is it the 44-year-old version of John, or is it the 8-year-old scared, terrified, wounded version who's building his walls and is getting his cannons and all that stuff and operating on ego? Who is really running the show here? And I need to go back oftentimes and heal that inner child and to pay attention to that inner child. And I get that gets a little light, a little woo-woo, a little bit like I am losing you here, John, with the whole inner child piece. And this is pretty deep stuff, so I'm not doing a great job of getting into all of it now, but I can just bring up that concept that all of us, that for many of us, there is programming running our show right now that we adopted at a very young age and have not evaluated, questioned, or maybe really stopped to think about, is this still serving me? These beliefs that I've had, and are they true? They might have been true then to us at a very young age, but are they still true now? It's something worth exploring. So it was very, very powerful for us. There's actually a statue that was at Burning Man that was an image that was used to describe this at the event. And it's two adults and their backs are together. They're sitting on the ground and they're facing away from each other. But inside this metal statue are these two, what appeared to be like toddlers looking at each other inside. So there's the adults facing out, and then inside the adult are these two toddlers looking at each other, wanting to connect. And I think it's such a beautiful imagery of what happens for many of us in our marriages, is that, we turn away from each other and our egos set in and we're stubborn and we're frustrated and we're angry and we're broken and we're hurt and we're all these things. And yet inside of our souls are these two little kids, your wife's inner child and your inner child. And they're just like, please, I just want to connect. Please, I just want to hug. Please, I just want to love you. And they're just craving what we all want is love and connection. And yet there's all this programming and all these beliefs that are standing in the way of us getting it. I'll try to post that picture wherever I post this video, or I'll throw that picture into the Facebook group or somewhere where you can see it. It's pretty epic. But guys, that's it. That's what I got for you today. Here's my summary. My summary is that what I learned over the week was that friction, the rub of a relationship, is necessary to create heat. It's necessary to create fire, which is what we want. We want there to be a fire burning in our relationship. And so we can't be afraid of the rub. We cannot think that an ideal relationship is one where we don't debate or where feelings don't get hurt. Because if your measurement of a relationship is our feelings never get hurt, I think it's going to be a tough ride, because I think part of being in a relationship, when you're being real and vulnerable and open and honest, is that there's a rub and that there's heat and there's fire, and just accepting that, knowing that is important. So embrace that idea. I'm also reminded that everyone has challenges. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how successful your businesses are. It doesn't matter how many times a week you're having sex. It doesn't matter any of those things. It doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have challenges. Everyone's going to go through seasons. Everybody's going to be in dark spots and bright spots, and winter and summer. They're all going to experience it all. And so if you're in a great spot, ride that wave, have some fun with it. Be there for other people in those moments of life. And if you're in a tough spot, get some help. Reach out, talk to a counselor, get away on a couples trip, get some time with your spouse, get a weekly date night, get one day a month where you do an overnight trip, get a couple days every quarter, to get away, get a week-long trip every year, that type of stuff, right? To be able to set yourself up for success. Try to do the 3 questions that I gave you earlier on a date day or date night sometime really soon. And I think that'll be the big idea to end on is get one-to-one time. That's it. Get one-to-one time, guys. So props again to the Go Abundance team for hosting the Go Couples trip. If you want to learn about it, you can just check it out online. We can link to it at Front Row Dads. If you've got any questions about anything, you can email me, John, Jon at frontrowdads.com. But guys, I really appreciate you being part of this brotherhood, and let us know how we're doing. I'm totally serious, right? Like, just shoot me an email. Let me know how we're doing. And if you're digging these podcasts, if you're getting value from it, then please share them with somebody else, and give us a rating or review on iTunes. That'll help us to spread this message and reach as many people as possible. And other things that you can do, by the way, read Dr. Kelly Flanagan's book. It's called Lovable. He is a wonderful writer. He has a great blog, but his book is fantastic. It's called Lovable, Dr. Kelly Flanagan. And also check out Alana Pratt. She is an intimacy expert. She has a bunch of YouTube videos, and she's just an amazing soul. You should check her out as well. That's it, guys. Hope to connect with you again real soon. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode, and connect with your spouse, strengthen your marriage, not only for you, not only for your spouse, but so your kids can watch you in a place of challenges and how you forgive and heal and move on from all those. Adios for now.